Girl, you really showed me. Think with your heart, don't think with your body. Clever. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not Justin Timberlake, write me a river. Lately, I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else, chose you instead. I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. You tried to convince me it was all in my head, and I felt like it's not you, it's me instead. Hey, I wanted to rock with you, roll with you. Said you was my baby girl, then you left me too. Everything was kosher, perfect like a poster. Then I got word that you wanna lead a picture. Off with somebody else, off with the jerk. With the shame on me, I really thought that it could work. Off with somebody else.
Leave everybody. Is that here? I will to leave him. Okay. What no, I should be good to go. Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. It has been an adventure to get here this evening. I apologize for the late start. And I will endeavor to do my best to speak about some topics this evening. I wanted to start off in a light-hearted fashion before we move into some of the more, I guess you would say, recognizably political topics. This topic has to do with the schools, because since this is sports time, I had actually wanted to go through this idea with Renzo Griffin, because he has access to the Gingerland secondary, well, the Gingerland community overall. And I thought it would have been a good idea. So I will share my idea, and I hope that it is fully stolen. First of all, I do not think that it will apply to everybody necessarily. I think that when you look at, me myself playing sports, I wear a lot of different sports teams clothes. Madrid, different basketball teams. When you look at the fever that we does have around enterprise, I think it is about time, particularly for hold on, I will check to see what feedback is taking place. Hopefully everybody could hear me a little better at this moment in time. What I was speaking about was the schools. I think that there is an economic I think that there is an economic opportunity for the schools, particularly Charleston Primary, particularly Gingerland. I would say also Ivor Walter, St. Thomas's, especially with the fact that we have now put like animals, I guess, as representations of them. So one of them is falcon, one of them is lions, and etc. I do not understand why I have not seen the merch to go behind these things. I mean, I've seen the mascots. We have seen individuals come up with their shirts to represent the school. But I feel like the school in and of itself is supposed to have a store selling different clothing items, not just for the children. I mean, I think that would also go for the children, but particularly the schools with big alma maters, a lot of people have gone to the school, or where even they didn't go to the school because life is so funny. Sometimes you didn't go to the school, but you had a child or somebody else who went to the school. And I thought that this is a missed opportunity. I think that there is scope to partner with different companies and get some designs, get in some pants, and even if you don't print it yourself, I just see that there is an avenue. All of these other places do it, and I think it's for a reason. And as I say, I don't think that this is something that every school should necessarily explore, but definitely with regards to the bigger schools, this definitely is something that I would look forward to them trying out. And I feel like you could use the proceeds to help your sports program, in my estimation. Another thing I wanted to speak about briefly was the deputy speaker. And Madam Speaker, I hope you do not feel like I am picking on it because I do think you are being gracious. I mean, it's not like you see me or cut your eye on me and I'm not gonna like this about. Other politicians just go and be a little bit petty. This beef is not with you in particular. I think this is a systematic situation. It's something that people may not really be concerned about. So that's why I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But the deputy speaker got up last week and she spoke on a bill. And I am aware that she's a senator and that I think that in her role as a senator, therefore she is the deputy speaker, it just seems to me confusing to have a deputy speaker get up and speak on any type of legislation. I understand this is a way for her to get reps, but that is not her position, and it confuses the situation. And I am not aware. I would like for somebody maybe who knows the history of these particular positions a little better than me. But I can't remember government in power. Oh no, this would be the opposition senator. But I can't recall an opposition senator with that much dual roles. I can't even remember a senator in power with so much dual roles, a speaker. So it was just kind of something that I found strange. And I don't know if anybody will look into it, but it is a thing. I wanted to build on something I was speaking on Tell I was happy to be on Tell and I even forgot as I was supposed to start off the show with condolences to the family of John Atherton. Uh, John has given me a lot of wisdom throughout the years, and he will also pull up your pants when it is necessary. Tell you, you gotta do a little better than that in certain aspects of life. So he was a field individual, uh, a family man, and he loved that job. You know, so Fearman, he will definitely be missed. Uh, that was one of the things that actually was good for me on Thursday because I got the opportunity to just kind of hang out with my father for 2 hours and a half. So that was good. These things do have you reflect upon in this time, I think, your mortality and gives you uh, gratitude that you still have your parents. So, as I said, condolences to the family. And, well, I know John passed on screen. So, I hope everybody will be able to pull together and go through at this particular time. Um, Here's my book. Okay. Yeah, I was writing. I'm not really gonna be long this evening. Oh yeah, I was trying to say I was building off of something that I mentioned last week and tell you. Not only would I like to see the Public Accounts Committee in Nevis be active, which is a very important committee, chaired generally by a member of the opposition, which looks into government spending. I don't want the Premier to feel like I am picking on him because if you understand the mechanism, he is also supposed to be the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee in Sentex. And this is also important for the Premier and noteworthy in that one of the major issues for the Premier is fair share. The issue is, as the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, the Premier has wide powers to call people into his offices or chambers, wherever he would like to conduct the meeting, and to get answers as to what is going on with the relevant CBI funds. It is noteworthy because the Premier was the leader of the opposition from 2007 to 2015, at which point he was actually in government, although he said he was outside, and he has returned to being the leader of the Public Accounts Committee. There is no scenario in the world that Mark Brantley should not know precisely the figures of what is going on with the CBI. He was either in government or in a position, even right now, tomorrow. And it also extends to everybody. As long as it's a government entity, so you can't get away by saying, well, it's a statutory corporation, etc. So I just feel like these things need to be addressed. It would also give the Premier a tremendous amount of power and help him in his role as the leader of the opposition to see where the money is being spent, see where the money is going. All these would also assist in my estimation with the discussion we're having now with regards to collection, or particularly VAT. I think it's VAT and one other tax fee, where we're saying that because the head office is in Sinkers, that they are pooling their funds and they're just paying in Sinkers. All of these things could be addressed by the leader of the Public Accounts Committee, of which, fortunately, our premier, who is fighting so boldly and so valiantly, he happens to be the man in control of that. So, trying to give the premier a little bit more leverage, a little bit more leeway, so that he's able to negotiate with a free hand. I am concerned about the economy of Nevis and the labor, and I am also going to say something which is not gonna sound kind of friendly. Well, now, it's not even that sound kind of friendly, because the premier is saying the same thing. But anyway, the boost, the bo- the let me see. This is so disgusting and ridiculous. Imagine that. Marketing and advertising is not necessarily one of our strengths, as economics, money management, and the entrepreneurial drive is not fully focused on within our school system. You are more trained to become an employee versus the employer. And this is true even in sophisticated economies. There are schools actually that I have recently become aware of in America where they teach you outside of the box. You don't even have to learn in a classroom if that is not where you are comfortable learning. But maybe we will get to those stages. I think it is still incumbent upon the parents to instill in the children these values and encourage them to be an individual, because the world will not teach you how to be an individual, but they definitely will reward you if your particular quirk is useful. That will happen. So you can't really worry about that. So I'm seeing a projection of between 15,000 and 20,000 people are on the most Boost mobile wallet app. This app was the initiative introduced by the Prime Minister in December, in which persons who are making less than $5,000 would get an extra $250. And I think that there are some constraints. You could only use it to buy food or electricity. So they're taking care of the supermarket, which they're taking care of the supermarket, and they're taking care of themselves too. Because basically, they might give you money or pay them back. So, alright, I can see it's basically they're taking off the 50 off whatever at the end of the month. These totals would be between three and three quarters of a million and $5 million every month. So I see the projection as either 22.5 million and between 30 million. Because I think this is gonna be until June. Yeah, I think it's an exploratory problem. The issue is that also means that between 30 and 40% of the population is on the app. Even though we describe St. Kitts and Nevis as a high income country, I think this has to be some form of alarm. I know that this not only covers certain people who are on what they would say the lowest income, like minimum wage, but to understand that that 40% of the population in Sinkies and Nevis is making less than 2,000 United States dollars. It's kind of tough still too. And giving them the 250 is an admission that, yeah, you still need a little extra help. We'll make it to the end of the month. The other thing that is concerning, and this makes me understand why the premier needs to have more people in the population, and that is because he is currently saying, oh, well, why he wants more people in the population, and also why nobody is looking at Nevis as an attractive destination to come and set up businesses. If you are currently already telling me that people are working 2 jobs and 3 jobs, which you say is fine, you can't argue. It already means that the labor pool in Nevis is already saturated. So when we are trying to attempt to get X, Y, and Z person to come to Nevis to set up their business, we begin to work the job. What's the breaking point at this point in time? Even if you look at the new hotel that is going to come, and by the way, this is in acknowledging right now. I think the last statistic I saw was that the unemployment rate was like 5%. So there literally ain't really nobody left to do these jobs. In which case, I understand why there needs to be some type of population increase. Because when we look and we're trying to understand why everyone is passing over Nevis, the politicians and the bureaucrats are letting us know why they are passing over Nevis. There is no labor market left. If everybody walk to job, do I understand what I'm saying? And even if you create some kind of new jobs now, this means that jobs that were there ain't there no more. Because the person may have either had to make a choice or they just can't split the time. At the end of the day, you have a particular amount of resources, and human resources is just one of them things. Currently, St. Thomas in the US Virgin Islands, which is the same size as Nevis, has to be more productive than Nevis because they got 80,000 people down there. St. Martin, which same size as Nevis, and got the same like 80,000 people. It is more attractive. It is easier for you to say, I am going to come into these countries and set up some kind of with a long-term business strategy to get bigger. So I understand why we need a bigger population. I am even confused as to how the premier is saying jobs, 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 jobs. Because even in the creation of more jobs, I don't know who is going to work these jobs. I feel like at this point in time, we need better skill jobs. We need more specialization in particular regions. But barring some kind of boom, I got to get some children. For real. I understand that. Because it is good. Nothing that I'm saying is negative, except the reality of the situation. If you think about Nevis right now, Nevis realistically can't take on to major hotels. Who's gonna work the jobs? Somebody else gonna end up and coming in and work them jobs. And while I'm talking about people coming in and working job, I am curious to see. Thank you, man. I am curious to see what will be the situation as far as the Taiwanese and the airport. I know we have said that it's going to create jobs, and I do not doubt that there will be some job creation. But my experience has been with Asians when they are funding these types of projects is that they send down their own workforces. So once again, I'm not gonna say that they're gonna send down their own job man. They're not going to far necessarily. But I could tell you, if they are here for 6 months, by the end of the first month, them are going down got some tomato tree and all kind of thing planted. All kind of thing. They are going to be as self-sustainable as possible. The money that they earn is to go home for family. They're going to do like how our government. They're going to pay themselves. And this happened down at the ESI Java. Blessings. This happened down at the Malcolm Gishard Recreation Park as well. I'm not saying that 0% of locals will hire them, but I will tell you my experiences when these Asians are giving you finances, they oversee them to ensure that they are done to completion, which is why I wanted them to get involved with so many major projects. Oh my God, please, I do the geothermal work too. But anyway, they are thorough in how they do their thing. They have their own crew, specialists, everything. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that is gonna pan out. I don't think they necessarily are interested in giving funds and say, hey, go ahead. I believe in you, man. Do the best. I don't think that that's how they roll at all. And that would not be a wise way to roll either, based on the evidence that we have at the moment. The rest of the stuff that I had to deal with. The shot, the rest of the stuff I had to deal with are concerned. Oh, I'm seeing and giving any update on the broiler plan. We need more local chicken and market. Well, we're going to talk about finance now because the minister, not even the minister, the permanent secretary of finance was speaking towards capital projects. And the Premier has also spoken about capital projects. And the Premier said in budget, don't look at it like a real. Because we are not certain. By Java, I don't say so. He last raised a while back. Java, as you mentioned that, let me tell you, the Premier is a liar, so he gonna understand what me have to say right now. The Premier know that when you're in court, credibility is very important. And Javan, I show you following up a couple of the cases what I know right now. There's the ASAP Rocky case. And before that we had the Young Thug case. And you know when you're going on this stand, you are gonna be asked questions under pressure. And if something goes out with you won't be cool and calm. But if you're talking and nothing goes out, and people are watching like one the time they ask the guy with ASAP Rocky, so the man shoot after you and you walk after him, you follow him. You didn't fear for your life, and he was like, I guess you lose your credibility. The Premier has sung so many sweet songs for so much time that he lost erase. And then not only that, now they put me a deal with bad politics. I can't believe Premier decided I don't even have this on the main care, but I wanna know how this thing gonna play out over bad. Are you telling me that bad people have to walk around the Powell gas station right now? Is this thing already in effect? Is it true that the only way of getting in the hot bath right now is from Powell gas stations? Right? The only somebody that's got it going there. So you know really trouble me. But me don't really understand how you're gonna tell bad people. Well, I mean the village literally named Bad Village. Me not understand how you're gonna walk up the hill. All them things that to me about politics. And if you know me, an election coverage is the boxes what I just wanna see would tell me about St. John's. So I just wanna see if the Premier really got the faith to make bad people walk up the hill. I wanna see. Remember, he the drive up the hill and he got a driver. So that it. Make bad people walk up the hill and you see what happens. Maybe I need to hear from the permanent secretary. I hope I believe anything about it. No, this is this is the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance. When the Premier first come on the scene, he thought I used to believe, but no, people used to not no people used to throw money and say do as you like. Not everyone has to do everything themselves. And they say just come and take photo ops and move over there. Well, Javan, that's another thing too, because one thing the Premier right with again is a relationship we have with the politicians, and we must realize we don't know them personally. We give them the benefit of the doubt. We're optimistic people, and we do hope at the end of the day that there is some goal, not just for them to enrich themselves, to get a status, name, or whatever, but for also for us to get piece of the pie. And sometime in getting to know them and being optimistic, just like in any other relationship, it not work out. You get to know them and you're like, and I'm at that stage with Mr. Bradley, my goat, whatever the greatest. Javan Green, I never believe anything he says or says. My spirit never take that man. He gave off a negative value. Well, Gigi, see, that's the next thing on Gigi. He got some people who is not really about like you liking them or not. They just believe that you play the job done. So there were realms and moments in time when I was like, I feel like Mark will get it done. I think so. But once again, that's me being optimistic. That's just me being optimistic. I see the glass as half full, not half empty. But there has been condensation and evaporation and mitosty. So time to move on. Okay, let me hear what you first think. It's not about the level, but something about him just fake. But Gigi living a hope, that living a hope. But he a fake out the wrong set of people. He want to fake out one of the foreigners there. He not fake out one of the foreigners there. The foreigners are never really distance them to good man. Anyway, let me hear what the PS has to say with
Does.
oh, that definitely was not the one. With this and that.
This will be a year for the CCM-led Navy Silent Administration to try and get its revenue collections and its expenditure on a more realistic path. And to do that, a number of new initiatives were outlined in the just concluded.
Well, I love, first of all, Keith Cargo, this and that. I think you are a great politician, sir. There is no way we are going to be able to tell the story of Calypso and Nevis without you. However, I am uncertain about what's going on with these interviews. But let me tell you, Keith, you're giving me content. I lag in from now. Hold on, that's an vision. What are the honey, you could give me that thing on Java, sir? You just put up a comment. But what are the five best things? What are the five best things Ma has done since electing? I won the bet last year when I said he never introduced a bill when he was with Unity. Oh. Javan, if I had to answer that question, I would say the water thing that is currently going on. I got to mark down that as one thing. I think overall the opportunities that he has provided in education, I mean, I'm not thrilled about some of the locations, but he has attempted to do something in those realms. As I say, I would that and they should concentrate on already. Where else can you has done he has, but tourism kind of up. Tourism has been on an uptick for the most part. Java 5 is hard. Anyway, I'm gonna come back to that later. I love that this and that say, out of him, me not got to make it up. This and that said this year, this CCM government got to get on a more realistic track about spending and what is going on. As when me says so, it's critical. Anyway, I can pull him back up. Blame says again.
Based on the 2025 budget proposals, this will be a year for the CCM-led Navy Silent Administration to try and get its revenue collections and its expenditure on a more realistic path. And to do that, a number of new initiatives were outlined in the just concluded budget presentation delivered by the Minister of Finance, Premier, the Honorable Mark A.G. Bantley.
So, once again, and this was also what I was highlighting last week. And by the way, it is critical that we get the budgetary support. If we don't get the budgetary support, it done. This is the year for CCM. What? I'm not about this CCM. Yeah, so I was just appreciating the fact that even this and that, see, boy, Mr. Premier, you all get this thing back, Pancho. And he gonna say something a little bit further along, a little later, which is also amazing. I wonder what he considers realistic. Realistic is definitely not minus 35 million. Okay. Yeah, let me hear what you must say.
Putting neighbors is a privilege, and yes, it's a right. But at the same time, you have an obligation to pay your property tax. Our property tax are not very large. Our figures are marginally small. The average property tax at the lower end is probably $500-700 per year. But we continue to have a large number of persons who continue not to pay the property tax, and our arrears for property tax continue to increase year after year after year. We also know that those persons who have built property and went overseas, they are not making the proper arrangement to have their taxes paid on time. So I want to use this medium to appeal to those persons to see property tax as an important obligation to the development of the country, and therefore make their necessary arrangement, whether you're living here or living overseas, to pay.
Well, I feel like the part that's strange in terms of, and I feel like you can talk about it a little later too. With all the construction going on in the property tax collected doesn't go up. Like you got cap on the amount of property tax you have to collect or something. Cause you just hear, this year 200 houses and this amount of addition and that. But what going on with the property tax?
At the Inland Revenue Department, we have said to persons, a tax is a tax. So when you come to do your driver's license and you owe property tax, we are saying to you, your account is in arrears, you need to make some arrangement to settle. So we kind of use that to say to persons, when you're coming to settle one form of tax, make sure that all the others are in order, because you can't come expect to just deal with your driver's license and leave your property tax unpaid.
I've spoken about this. I hope I hear for yourself. And you hear what he said too. In the first part, he said a lot of y'all are getting on the plane. You look like you only come back or vote. And I pay a property tax and I come back or vote. Well, you ain't gonna get to vote. Well, no, you don't get to vote still. You need that extra. Don't pay the money. But after you don't vote, you ain't gonna get a license. You ain't gonna get nothing from the government until you pay your taxes. I don't feel like that's fair. Not a thing wrong with all of these circumstances as far as I can see. The only thing that is alarming is that, as he's rightfully, as he's saying, look on the amount of house of bill. How come the property tax collected ain't going up? People always over to extend to pay their property taxes, as opposed to the people who are living there. Okay, so you're getting a little bit of pushback there locally, sir. And not only that, I got to be careful. Remember, I got the diaspora program in place. You can't cuss the people who they want and say they want money. Because I want them come back to the business. Maybe that's how come they might get duty free, because they want money. And they also speak about a mechanism. I don't know if I'll get it, but they speak about a mechanism whereby they would be able to take out your money to it. So you gotta be careful.
Make our budget every year, and I think the Premier alluded to this at some forum earlier in the week. We make our budget merely our best projection. We have no control over what can occur, and therefore, even with the best of prediction, we can go wrong in terms of our revenue collection. So every bit of revenue that we collect is important. And I must remind the public as well, when it comes to budget, even though we go to the house and we say we make a budget for $170, $180 million, this is not money sitting in the bank
And too often people start to wait budget versus cash.
Yeah.
There's quite a difference between budget and cash. Budget is what you project to collect. And this will be done by your daily collection. You don't have, when you make a budget for 190 million, in order you have the 190 million sitting in the bank. You are hoping that on a daily basis you'll collect by your revenue collecting department. Again, because you expect that those persons who have an obligation to pay their taxes will pay their taxes. And it is this money, therefore, that you have to use to cover the expenses. Now, when we start the budget, like every budget cycle, it is not unusual or alarming. We normally start the year with a situation where our expenditure is more than income, because we are projecting that if you were to achieve this level of expenditure, we have to now go and identify some alternative income sources, whether we're going to go to the bank and look for overdraft, we're going to get grant funds and so on. And so this year, for example, we wanted to take a much tighter approach than we did before. And what we're basically saying is that when we started the budget this year, we had actually 20% of our expenditure for which we are yet to identify the revenue source to fund it. Because when we make the budget in December, we are saying in the new year, we are hoping to go out and get it.
No, we don't pass that. At this particular moment, I feel like I be understand what budget. I be does budget to Mr. Premier. You better believe it or not, Mr. I be the budget. I be those budget and I be those budget. How much I be going to spend on rent this year? And as you said, it's not to say I be necessarily got the money, but I be know, well, you know, this will come in, you do this, you make plans in between, so that you see, well, okay, this is going how I'm going to come to the thing. So, because some of these, when they are trying to explain these things and say how people can contemplate these things, even when man does music festival weekend, Mr. Premier, man the budget out with that day. How are you think I get to come cause and say, well, how people are saying, bro, they save the money in between. Sometimes when you talk about them managing 6 beer, sometimes when you see them, you know, they must buy them the beer. That time there. Maybe that week there. So yeah, them are managing them. But people budget all of the time. The issue that we are having at this particular moment in time is we need hundreds of millions of dollars for some of the currently proposed projects. And the responsible thing to do in those particular circumstances is definitely lock down what you're doing financially. Even when it is described that we have a 20% budget shortfall, currently they're playing some kind of game with the capital budget, in which they put in the budget money to current, but then when they calculate as capital. The capital account right now, I think that they want a budget to do 80 something projects again with $20 million. That's how. And then circumstances, me not got to foot check the premier, and you telling me even though you're budgeting $20 million, you don't see where 20% of that will come from. So you could see 16 now for sure. But you don't know where the 4 will come from. And out of the 16, you want to convince me 12 of that, so 60% of the capital budget going into the hospital, geothermal, airport, roads. No man, the money done. Imagine how we're going to build 40 something low income homes. On top of all of them projects they want me to tell you. The mission is impossible. And we don't care. will have a hole of saying we can't find $4 million. This thing ain't working. It is severely bad. And I do understand, as I said, I'm being reasonable. Something your budget and you say, but I feel like I don't got $2,000 with a weekend there, or that night there. Something you got 7, I ain't up with it. Something you got 13 to. I listen to the budget just religiously. However, 3 months in, I'm seeing a project starting that was not in the budget. VIB stand at Mondocha for, oh my God, I don't know another VIP one. Is it concrete this time, Miss Warner? Would it happen to be a permanent stand at this time, or are we still in the phase where we will knock up a quick wooden structure and let that be that? And I wonder what happened to the other structure. I don't think that Woodlice is supposed to have gotten to that at this particular time. Right? I feel like as long as them has some window up there, so I don't have to see the ministers then getting wet them where my back you don't got and my father long time but it's a free game. You're wise man. Let's see the rest of what Mr. G wants to say.
And get it funded. We have always taken the view that if you don't get them, we're not going to go and be reckless in our spending. We will basically cut back on some of our expenditure. So earlier this year, as a matter of fact, the first working week, we had a meeting with the ministers and permanent secretaries because we want to appraise them that we have to take a different approach this year. It could no longer be a case where we make a budget and we just go off and spend. This year we're taking a tighter rein.
They could no longer make a budget where they just go off and spend. This is what we have been doing in the past. Listen, this is why I love to listen to this. Mickey and so. This is like us. I don't know. What do you mean? First week, these men had to go to the heads of departments and let them know, yo, lad, man. And, you know, I would just like to say you're welcome to the people of Nevis, you know, talking about these budget, not budget, these purchase orders that don't have on any amounts. I would like to let us get down to the bottom of that. The Public Accounts Committee once again would be able to call in persons. And Mr. Premier, you ain't gonna do it, Janice. This is a way how you go farm the Public Accounts Committee and Janice ain't gonna be there, but you're gonna go take clear. That's it. That's 100% that don't got to happen. But there's a way to do it. Without everybody, you could Janice could be on the sideline and you could send other people and get this thing done. So
if the revenue is available, we make the expenditure. If the revenue is not available, we have to curtail the expenditure. So at that meeting, we did indicate to them that at this point, we had at least 20% of our budget that we have yet to identify the expenditure. And that 20 came about because of the budget and also this with 4% reduction. So straight away, we are starting here, we are saying to them, 20% of the allocated budget expenditure will be on hold. Now, it doesn't mean that it's on hold indefinitely. As we seek to identify the revenue source, we'll make the releases of funds to the department. So I don't want anybody to get the impression that we are saying we make a budget and then straight away we say we cut in the budget. We are not saying that. We are saying at this point we could not identify the funding and therefore we have basically put that.
This is what I was saying. Every year, he was talking something about like cash poor and anything like that. The current account is your cash money where you have on hand. Last year, it was minus 40. So, me not got to able account to tell you that when it comes to cash, ain't happening. That's unless I fix the CBI money, the support money. In which case, the capital account trash. So I don't got to pick where you want to be harmful in. Either way, this thing ain't working out at all, at all, at all, at all. Yeah, man. Mr. Doe is qualified. Mr. Doe is a good man. Mr. Doe no right now. Mr. Doe would be an excellent interview. By the way, Mr. Doe is qualified at his position. Think he's been there for a while. You know, a little freshen up, but I ain't gonna pop into Mr. Doe. When Tim was giving him millions of dollars, he burped and said he had the best thing that ever happened. Something like that. But it's raining very lightly now. And the wind will be blowing away the little before it reached to the ground. But I just hope that the Premier could at least keep this thing on some kind of reasonable ground. Just lose like 15 million a year. That's around here average. Of course, you know, he taught me accounting. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, Mr. Doe, excellent. Excellent.
We put that portion on hold, and as the funding become available, we release more and more of that.
Right.
So if you can raise revenue for 10% of that in the first 2 months, then we release that 10 and we are only holding back 10. When we get to the point of raising the revenue for all 20, then we allow the full budget to be executed. It's a natural process.
If it is true that there is some kind of extension going on to the VIP over the Monday track, then you're correct. He's a bad spender. Because these are the things where you're cut out. Whether or not the Mondo Chunk VIP is enhanced this year, me not see how that there will impact none as far as the situation gonna be. I don't understand what is taking place as far as that you can't have this expenditure that if you are going to do this, then you need to be brave enough to get up in Parliament during the budget and say, hey, you know, really got money, you know, things kind of tight. We're going to pull back the spending this year, but you know one thing what we're going to do? We're going to upgrade the VIP. Go ahead, just let the public hear. Because it don't make no sense. You are stopping major things from happening, but you want to do this smaller thing to say, well, okay, something happened. It better if you curtail these smaller things and you do something actually serious. Or put that to use in some kind of better way. As Tim said, marking a go. Marking out the more money we give Mark, the more niggas goes in the red car. He says because he had to pay for West Haven. And Mr. Premier, me don't say me not wrong you for that, but when you got to pay, tell the people you can't got to pay any kind of money there. And also the Herbert's Beach. Remember, you know, put the Herbert's Beach money in the budget. He has to probably spend and stop focus so much on taxing the people in the At this point, the budget is done for the sake of having a budget. They don't follow nothing in that budget. But Gigi, this is why I'm saying the Public Accounts Committee needs to happen. And this is why I'm saying that if the Premier is failing to have this happen, then Janice definitely got to make known that we listen, I will support that certainly. And I also feel like the president of the house go tell the Premier, Mr. Premier, no man, get the house in order. The Public Accounts Committee is a standing committee. As long as there's a parliament, it's supposed to have a Public Accounts Committee. So let's go. There will be a VIP this year at the Interprime Sports. Also, Susie, there's always got a VIP, you know. Yeah. If the Premier going out there, you got a VIP, what do you think? Where you going? You can't over. You know what I mean? Well, later in the day for the photo, but generally, he's gonna be in the VIP. Certainly. Well, if you want to be in the VIP, first, let's get some $1,000 from you. And you're good.
It when you for 10%, then we release at 10 and we are only holding back 10. When we get to the point of raising the revenue for all 20, then we allow the full budget to be executed. It's a natural process occurring in other countries, and by doing that, it allows you to put some control on, as opposed to starting to spend money where you don't have the revenue to support it. We have to be conservative and we have to be responsible as a government, and we really can't just go and incur expenditure hoping that we'll find the resources to pay it. We have to first find the resources and then incur the expenditure.
No, the last statement there that Mr. Doe made, all that I would have done out the end, at the end, would be quiet and quick. All that would have done was sort out, you would be quiet and couldn't do nothing if only the cyclone or whatever she did for hours. Bye. I've been okay, you know. Let me leave you. One of the reasons why I am amazed at Cleone's position right now with NRP is because it seems clear to me, even if NRP was to get in right now, as long as Cleone is still in politics, by 2028, Premier, she would have had a chance to get the Premier. She would have had that opportunity there. I feel like she was already in that seat there. So I don't understand why the humble wasn't on. It's like, if you are the great player who get drafted, even though a man at your position right there, you won't be the next person. No? You just got to hold on, basically. But there's another thing. At the end of the statement, what is calling some calling she name from? She will come home. No boy, and I was watching her this evening. I don't even know. I've been looking. I see her on the heavyweight. She's a heavyweight now. And she better know. Pat used to be a heavyweight too. And you agree? You could be a heavyweight. I would like to go up on the heavyweights too. But the statement that Mr. Doe made that is of significant interest to me is that Mr. Doe said, you can't just do projects. First, you got to make sure that you have the funding. And then you start the project. You don't start projects for the sake of starting projects. And when me hear Mr. Doe say that, then I say, boy, Mr. Doe, how you get the man? How you get the premier? So much about the hospital. How you gonna tell the man you ain't supposed to start the hospital if you've been no? You couldn't finish it. And Geotome Hall, and the Mondo Chop, and the farm down at Indian Castle. All like the land where they clear off and make sure bush bigger than me down there now again. Hopefully not the airport. Or the Wally Pier, which we've seen beautiful concepts for the parking lot. And we do have the, you go back on the grass on the opposite side of you, but we have not seen the full completion of this project. And once again, these are being said by the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance. You go get your money first. The NIA would have been great with 5 ladies in government. Johnny Security Cyclone, Pat Elder, politics in history in politics. Right? I don't even see the last one that will be sleeping from Dubai. Bye.
Coming out of COVID, we ventured into what we call filming. And you remember that we did a couple of movies and movies as a starter. And so this is one sector which we think that we can still push in terms of a viable area that we can venture into. So this is one of the new things we are looking at. We had the service of MSR Media. They basically showed us that in Nevis, we had some acting skill because a number of our people had keyhole.
I do not understand what's going on with the MSR. Is the man a criminal? Or is the man the best thing since sledge? That's why Nevis is in so much trouble. A man can't express himself in peace or else he get caution. Even when you're cool and collective as this young man. I would like to know, we cannot have a situation wherein which the Prime Minister of the country is saying that Philip Martinez gained access to the CBI and is deceptive and is fraudulent and all these things, and over upon the NIA side, the NIA is saying, but we have Philip Martinez, he's going to lead us to the promised land. Sorry, I to spell this, but this one phone is changing. Let's see.
Acting skill because a number of our people had keyholes.
Oh yeah. This thing can't work. This thing can't work. We have to have a unified policy when we're dealing with Philip Martin. We got to pick a side now. It can't be the Prime Minister. I say no, and the Premier I say yeah. Let me go. And Mr. Prime Minister also, if you're gonna say no, he can't be a self passport. He can't be in the CBI. He can't be no authorized nothing in the CBI. So if you got facts and you could deal with something with it, do what you gotta do. Outside of that, no, we need to shut down that particular discussion. Be consistent. That's like weed legal in Sinkers and not in Nevis.
We had some acting skill because a number of our people had keyholes during that period, both as actors, directors, and a number of other things. A number of businesses develop out of it as well because a lot of the makeup artists, our local people.
I'm not really. There's no disrespect for Mr. Do. How much money do you make from movies? Oh, Mr. Green, your eyes are on the ball, sir. Your eyes are on the ball, Mr. Green. Because that's what I want to hear about. Let me tell you something. I'll be passing legislation. Say I'll be a movie filmmaker. I can this and so, and you apply to have your license to make film and where this and where that and all that kind of thing. I mean, how much money have you? I want to believe there's not just within legislation. I think there is supposed to be an office space and we got staff and all them kind of thing. Which means we're paying for it too. How much money are we making from this film industry when we start? And what the hell is the game plan? I don't think it should be Philip Martinez. Philip Martinez in Kelsey Grammer was like the only actor YB he had where I was like, okay. You know what I mean? That's like a real big one. Even Jay White, not for me. I understand, but not for me. But this is not a wonderful, exciting film maker, and he's a social pariah right now. He's actually beefing with the government. So I don't. And the government, what he beefing with? The minister for the other island, which is part of the federation, is like, man, this man is so wonderful. So unbelievable. I'm not understanding and contemplating what is going on here properly.
Sector that we need to nurture, not just because it bring money directly, but because it help us to spin up into other businesses and help our people to bring up.
I don't believe. I am gonna go into the thing again. I don't believe that that photo shoots we're doing, maybe like the Haynes photo shoot and them kind of story, Angler, whoever coming on there, not any of that. But that is not necessarily what we was looking at when we're looking at film industry. I don't think we're looking at actors for commercial. This is yeah, but I don't think. After Philip Martinez, he should not be allowed. Oh, after what Philip Martinez did, he should not be allowed to come back to the Federation. But that's the kind of funny thing why didn't you say Gigi? It seemed like if he come to the Federation and he come to St. Kitts, he look like he gonna be contentious. Except that the premier will be at Robert Llewellyn Bajra, arms extended, waiting for his wonderful friend to come and usher him immediately across the waters back into the news. But that is the confusion. I just want consistency from the leaders. And especially when the premier would go all the way to Taiwan and say, you know, it was important for us, for me to go to Taiwan so that we could show solidarity and unity with regards to the Taiwanese people. You know, feel like Singers and Nevis people need to be unified with how we're dealing with Philip Martin. We need to know. One can't be say he's the best thing and the next one saying he's awful. You gotta land a private jet and find something international. Well, you see, that's possible too. That one may say. Well, ain't gonna be a private jet neither, you know. He could fly from the US Virgin Islands for $2,000. And get him now. He could leave from Puerto Rico. I think he's supposed to have Puerto Rico flights right now too. Support the flights. He could support, and that would also be supporting the premier as well. Or from St. Martin. I haven't heard much about the St. Martin flights, but he could also fly from St. Martin. He's a Frenchman, so then there he can. And MSI is in St. Martin too. So you know what I know. You know what I'm doing.
True. Now, I mentioned earlier some of the capital projects that are earmarked for 2025, but we all know that is all based on whether funding is available. How confident are you that at least a few of those capital projects, if not all, will get off the ground in 2025?
Well, each year we project that at least 60 to 75% of what we have budgeted will get started. So that has been the benchmark we've been using, and so we expect that this year a similar thing will occur, where that number of projects will get moving. Of course, it's limited to funding, and as I mentioned earlier, we'll not be reckless. If we can't come up with the funding, we're not going to just start the project just for the sake of starting it. We have to ensure that we can complete it. What we probably will have to do where funding is not available, we'll downsize the project in terms of what we can achieve in a given year and to ensure that we can complete it. What we probably will have to do, start the project just for the sake of starting it. We have to ensure that we can complete it. What we probably will have to do where funding is not available, we'll downsize the project in terms of what we can achieve in a given year and move it into the next year as a priority. What we always try to do is any project that got started and never get completed, we try to deal with those first in the new year before we take on new ones.
And you see the party again? Where do you something there? No, yes, you something wrong with you. the Facebook up. But there again, Mr. Doe reiterated the fact that you don't just start projects if you know you ain't got nothing. You can't end it. And if you do downsize, I would think it is your responsibility to come and say, hey, we have a funding gap here. And due to the funding gap, we are going to slow down the project. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. This is just your basic responsibility. The same way how you came with the budget, you come and all you do, you say, hey, I projected this and we fell off by X amount. And so we are going to slow down as a result of that. Man, I could see the pressure on right now to start back the hospital. Men of arms, you're supposed to be good to go, sir. The thing about the project was 60 to 75% of the capital projects. This is something new. I have not heard goodness speak about a particular percentage. I do not think that it is fair to say that, you know, Marcus Garvey didn't commit such a treasonous act against America, yet they prevent him from entering the US. Martinez is worse than Jezebel. Well, remember he got a case in a single stone, so we got to at least allow him to come in single. We're going to give him due process in that aspect. You know what the last topic going to be? I tune in, as I said, to the heavyweights. I was also alerted by Ras Banky to conversations. Well, a conversation happening in St. Kitts and Nevis right now. It surrounds gender. Yes, it seems at this time that the transgender discussion has reached the St. Kitts and Nevis. So I want to hear what are the people's thoughts on this? Is this some kind of major issue? I know how I feel. If you are unfamiliar with what is taking place, I think that the discussion I heard was that on the form, the passport form for when you're applying for your passport, they have changed it to where you no longer are checking sex. I think they said that they have the box now that says gender, and definitely, Susie, them man are phase one specialists. One phase. Listen, if CCM was a manual car, a one gear you'd have had. If CCM was a peer show, it's only one show you're gonna find. If CCM was a peer sax, CCM would be sax will make it out of the joy. If the alphabet people alone. But Javan Minach, me personally, it's not gonna affect me. I ain't concerned with who is what or whatever you identify with. It's not none of my business, nor do I particularly care about it. But it seems that it has caused a stir in the country. I think that people are hyper focusing on it. A lot of people are not understanding of the situation. Well, what I also get is that people feel like it is being accepted and tolerated, and they think that it is going to change society. So it's an important social conversation that is going on. I don't know how much of the population is actually gonna be affected by this. I feel like some people moving like them crazy if they don't understand. There are various people in the population. Once again, if that is not your preference, I just feel like you just leave it alone. But no, may watch it different. I heard a number of moral discussions going on as to how it would change the fabric. As me say, when I am filling out my personal form, I don't know what to put. When my wife put out she gonna be alright, I fail to see how it is going to affect me. But for the people who do feel threatened by no, they will, I think, have to acknowledge persons of other genders. I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna go. I will say, from the conversations I have heard, I am looking for strong conservative politicians and political talking points. I um I think possibly if this thing goes, breaking news pop up on the phone, Google removes guidelines bar its AI from being used in surveillance and what? Bruh. That can't be right. I hope that's not right. Yeah, but as me tell I don't know. I do not see what the impact of this, but there are persons within the community who are concerned. Certainly the Christian community who get people go to church all the time. And as long as them are paying collection, you better believe them and not around them what the judge. Um it's gonna be a strange conversation. I would suspect that um because it's not gonna affect me and I'm not gonna be wary about it, I suppose I'm gonna be on the wrong side of Nevis history. But I'm looking forward, as I say, let we see who's gonna be the Nevis strong. Let's see who's gonna be the St. Kitts and Nevis diehards, the real conservatives, you know, those people who wanna control that. And let's see how far that's gonna go. Are we gonna also be having discussions about abortions? As soon as you start to be concerned about sex, everything coming. So I don't know. I don't know. We shall see what the future brings. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, I thank everybody who was able to join us this evening. Uh, Thank everybody in the comments too. You all were live this evening. I hope we can speak again next week. Next week, really and truly, I want to talk about the DPP. I don't even talk about that craziness that happened down in the DPP's office with the young lady being charged for accessory to murder. Yeah, but I didn't have the clip neither. I want to play specifically. Susie, being part of my business, but also do not push it in our place to accept it as well. And Gigi, that is, I think, reasonable. I think that is reasonable. Because that I may stand, you know. As long as you ain't, as long as this is not a situation where it's like, well, okay, this thing got to be in the face. If me I tell the boy, yo, this not my speed, just leave me alone. Let me be on the side and let me cool. But generally, as me say, man, like, I just feel like we have to be realistic about what we're dealing with regards to this situation. I think if you are a sexual deviant, whether you gay or straight, if you gay and you are troubling somebody underage, it's the same set of penalties as the straight people who just put themselves in line to take advantage of young. To me, all of it is taking advantage, regardless of your sexual preference. If it's two adults, the man don't even remove the law with regards to burglary. So there is nothing you could do at this particular moment in time. I don't know. As I said, I think it's an interesting social discussion. Push ourselves on anyway. And Susie, that's what I'm saying. We should not push ourselves, push our lifestyle on anyone else. I could go with all of them things. Do what you do. You got your corner. You hold your corner. Me hold mine. And we cool. Our strength come from the diversity of things that we got. So, them man over there, as long as your space is respected and protected, I feel like everybody could get a space and be protected. The tariffs as well and how it will man. The tariffs and actually I saw one of the big things about what's going on is going to be the remittances. As I even saw somewhere that they were saying that you would have to have like valid ID and them type of things in order to send money to the Caribbean. So, yeah. Hopefully next week we can speak about some of the effects of the policies, the US policies on the Caribbean. I don't feel like 68 people are going to be problematic, but the real larger impact. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be leaving you on right now. And we will speak again next week. Let me see. Okay. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me. And see you next week. Let's see.
Got up in the morning, took a shot, it's a rock. And girl, you left my stomach in a knot. Took my lighter and you burned the bridge. Thought you was a writer. No, you're just an idol. You got me feeling like Big Sean in this 5, 4, 3, 2. I deserve a minute. Wait a minute. Gotta get up and over. Regain my composure. No longer my lover. Finally finished and you did it. Girl, you really showed me. Think with your heart, don't think with your body. Clever. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not Justin Timberlake, write me a river. Lately, I'll be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I'll be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else, chose you instead. I'll be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. You try